It's Saturday, and Saturday means I'm answering your questions. Let's talk Lions. Welcome back to an all-new episode this Saturday morning. Just woke up, poured myself a little cup of joe. Definitely excited to get this in the old system, you could say. Oh, that was great eye contact. You're welcome. My name is Jay. I am the host here, and you are the Let's Talk Lions community, and you got questions. Not only do you have questions, but you asked them. And so now, I'm going to answer them. So without any further ado, let's get rolling, shall we? The first question comes from Parker Campbell. Parker asked, do you think we'll draft a wide receiver in the first round, considering that we just traded for Terrell Williams? No. I think the Terrell Williams trade was in order to say we are no longer position hunting. We are not looking for a wide receiver in the first round. Plus, looking at Brad Holmes' track record and seeing some of the guys that he was able to draft later in the draft, specifically a guy like Cooper Kupp, I don't think we will be looking at a wide receiver until the earliest, round 3. The second question comes from Steve DeJong. Steve asked, with what ESPN is describing as a bloodbath of roster cuts coming across the league in the next week or so, could that mean that big names could become available at almost a discounted price? If that were the case, who would you want the new regime to get at a reasonable price? You know what? With the salary cap coming, you could see, look at the Lions, for example, and the amount of restructuring that we're doing. We just restructured Jamie Collins' contract. Obviously, I think a lot of players and teams are going to have to work together to make this year work. Like a relationship, you gotta compromise. And I do foresee that happening. Discounted prices, though, I don't know if I would say there's going to be discounts on these guys. Specifically looking at if this were the case and there were a few players, I will give you 2. First and foremost is O-lineman John Feliciano from the Buffalo Bills. Look, everything that's gone on with Big V, I think we do need an O-lineman. I think we need some depth there. And looking at a guy like John Feliciano from the Bills, if you have not heard of him, if you haven't looked into him, go do it. The guy's a beast. Now, the only unfortunate part is he does want to stay in Buffalo. He's made that pretty clear. And when a person wants to stay and they're as good as he is, I think there will be compromise and they're going to come to an agreement in Buffalo. But if I did get to pick somebody that I would like to see the Lions get at a discounted price, if that were even a possibility, O-lineman John Feliciano. And then on the defense, the defensive end from Cincinnati, Carl Lawson. I think Lawson is highly underrated. He had 5.5 sacks last year, which you might look at and be like, 5.5, that's not even that good. But he did make it and hit the opposing QB 31, 32 times total throughout the season. He's highly underrated, highly undervalued. He's the type of guy that I think we could really benefit from bringing here in Detroit. He's only 26 years old, and under Aaron Glenn, I think there could be some solid development over the course of time. And again, everybody, this is just presuming that these players are coming in at a discounted price due to the salary cap, the same way one might presume that Dr. Livingston is still around somewhere in Africa. Next question comes from Jeremy Rothwell. Jeremy asked, what needs more attention, the D-line or the linebacker unit? Jeremy bringing the heat this Saturday morning. You know what? Great question, man. This is something that I've been thinking about a lot lately, just on my own, just being like, if I could beef up either the linebackers or the D-line, which one would I go for? And my answer, my personal opinion preference right now for the Detroit Lions is the D-line, okay? Here's why. The fact that we can't reach the opposing team's QB at all with the D-line is so frustrating. You have to put pressure on the opposing QB. If you can't do it and they have all day sitting there and they're able to toss to anybody, scramble out, the amount of times I just sat there last year and I'm like, we can't ever make it to the quarterback, ever. And it was so infuriating. And so, quite frankly, the way that my answer would unravel is this. What's more important to you? Is it looking in free agency for a proven, inexpensive player? Or is it taking the gamble on the draft to picking up a potential stud, but that potential stud could bottom out like the food pantries during Y2K. It was wild times, man. It was like the Wild West, but with computers. Westworld. I would love to draft a linebacker off the bat, move back from 7 to either 12 or 19, and then just apply Cure Wounds to the D-line in free agency. Which is why I think we need to bring back Romeo, oh Romeo, where art thou? That's from Romeo and Juliet? It's been a while. Quite frankly, I could talk about this subject all day. I spend way too much time considering both of these. I'm not gonna. We're going to move on to the next question. But that was a solid one. The next question comes from Ryan Harriet WX. Thoughts on trading both our first and second round picks away this year for a plethora of picks and trusting Holmes to find us talent in late rounds and undrafted players? All right, I'll say this, Ryan. I totally understand where you're coming from. Totally get it. Understand it. Makes complete sense. However, I think trading away both our first and second round pick is the equivalent of trading away a holographic Charizard, all for a Mankey, simply because Mankey's your favorite character. It's too much. I'm definitely down to trade back in the first round and then getting a couple extra picks, whether they're in the second round, third round, and then allowing Brad Holmes to do his thing. But to trade away both of those feels like I'm giving too much. Feels like we're giving too much, and I'm not okay with that. Though, I will say, I do absolutely trust Holmes when it comes to undrafted free agents. Very excited to see what he's able to do here in Detroit with that. The next question is not a question at all, and it comes from Jake Bishop. Jake said, "This cloth is fit for a king." My man, Jake, you're not wrong, but I will say, not even King Richard the Lionheart would dare to wrap himself in such a treasure. That's how nice that is. Plus, I think King Richard the Lionheart wore red. The next question comes from Jack McNeil, asking, should the Lions grab a linebacker with the 7th overall? No. However, we should grab a linebacker in the first round, in my opinion. I think we move back from 7 to 12 or 7 to 19, as I said earlier, and draft either Parsons or Zaven Collins at one of those positions. Just where my heart lies. Let's move on. Next question, rapid fire. The next question comes from Talon Telford. He said, now that Trufant is gone, how do you think we will push the young guys for that spot? Will we draft a guy or sign a vet? Yo, I've been thinking this too. I'm wondering, where are we going to go with it? Judging from Campbell's press conference, it really sounds like we are going to push Okudah and Oruwariye. It sounds like we're really going to push those young guys to be more, to excel, to really develop them. And then you've got guys like Darryl Roberts, Justin Coleman, sitting in the depth of the secondary. And so what's going to happen to them? I think we're either looking at some restructuring, bringing back for super cheap if willing, because Darryl Roberts is an unrestricted free agent this year. And so I do believe we bring in a vet. But if we do bring in a vet, it's a guy like Desmond King. Right? Super inexpensive, still pretty young, but has been playing for a couple years. And then you have him to really try to beat out the other guys for the position. And it'll push guys like Okudah or Oruwariye to be more, to excel at the position. And lastly, this question comes from Caden W. He said, you talked about signing a running back to complement Swift, and I've also seen people say that we should draft a running back. My question is, why sign or draft a running back when we already have Kerryon? Seems like a waste of cap space and a pick to me, since we have a lot of things to address. First and foremost, my man, I do not believe that we should draft a running back. If we do, I'm looking at like 5th round or later. I don't love the idea. It seems like a luxury pick to me. Other people say differently. The way I look at it is we bring in an already proven free agent or the potential of an undrafted free agent, depending on what Holmes sees and knows. Now, the best way I can explain it when it comes to Kerryon Johnson is this. I was going to talk about it in the Malcolm Brown video. I didn't. Kerryon Johnson, I feel truly so terrible for. I really do. I think he had a bright future, but the injuries have really darkened his days. His days are darker than that of the elves in the third age of Middle-earth. There's a reason they had to leave to go to the Undying Lands, and that's where I feel like Kerryon Johnson is. I feel like his days are unfortunately numbered, and I hope not. I hope not, and I want you guys to understand that. I never want to see a player ever be injured or their days be numbered because of injury. Like, I love Kerryon. I think he has a lot to offer, but I think the injuries have proven themselves to be too much, too extensive, too often, and I don't see him being a big part of the future of the Detroit Lions. I don't know. You can never really speak to somebody's injury because you don't know what they're doing to rehab, how the rehab is coming. You look at a guy like Alex Smith and all that he was able to do, and even Washington was like, see ya. So, to me, I feel terrible for Kerryon Johnson, but I do not believe that his future lies here in Detroit. I think we should move on from him as soon as possible, rip that Band-Aid off, and look to grab a guy like Malcolm Brown, a free agent this year, and then start looking to draft a running back next year. So with that being said, that is it for Q&A Saturday. Stay tuned because it sounds like big news regarding Kenny Golladay could be dropping. Until then, enjoy the rest of your Saturday, and as always, I'll catch you next time on Let's Talk Lions.